Oh, there you are. James, what are you doing in here? Okay. James, are you trying to make your Miata lighter by deflating helium balloons in it? Are you feeling a bit inadequate because we're about to film a Lotus? Okay, did it ever occur to you that maybe you didn't have to deflate the balloons, you could just leave them in the car and it would have the same effect?
100%. I was trying to add lightness.
I know. You didn't simplify. You missed the first part.
And now I have a headache.
Yeah. Watching Throttle House. I'm Thomas.
And I'm James.
And this is the Lotus Elise.
More specifically, a Series 2 Lotus Elise, the second and unfortunately final generation before Lotus stopped shipping cars across the Atlantic. This particular car comes graciously from Paul and the fine folks at Gentry Lane here in Toronto, where it is for sale. Compared to the first generation, it has updated looks, updated mechanicals, and though this is a car obsessed with lightweighting, it did actually gain some weight compared to the Series 1. And yet, it still weighs 3 grown adults less than a new MX-5, helium-assisted or otherwise.
It's mid-engined, manual, naturally aspirated, with unassisted steering and a chassis worthy of a conversation over a beer. It was in a class of its own when it came out, and it still is, which means that this old hand-built British thing with 73,000 kilometers on it has an asking price of over $60,000 Canadian. That's almost 50 grand US. And it has a pithy Toyota 1.8 litre 4-cylinder engine. So our question today is, what?
If you're new to Throttle House, we do car reviews, track tests, and quite a lot of messing around. So subscribe and enjoy the show.
Listen, if you told me that 190 horsepower and 4 cylinders didn't make your pants move, I would totally understand that. Those numbers, in theory, are not that exciting. This is the definition of in practice. Because, like the Alpine A110 we just tested, it's all about power to weight ratio, and this actually has a very similar power to weight ratio as that car. And it's enough. This thing hit 60 miles an hour in 4.8 seconds. For the sake of joy and driving on the road, why would you ever want more than that? And yes, it delivers it linearly because it's naturally aspirated. Although there was a supercharged version, which was made in very low numbers and is now commanding a hefty premium. And that did 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. But honestly, this is as fast as you would ever need. It's also quite rewarding in the sound department. Despite being just a 4-cylinder, it sounds, and this is the stock exhaust, quite harmonious, quite energetic. And specifically, if you really give it some, it comes on cam about 6,000 RPM, not dissimilar to VTEC, and it just goes deeper. Here, listen. I love that. All the way to 8,000 RPM. That means it's a very revvy, very entertaining 4-cylinder engine. And I'm not simping for the Miata here, but it does remind me, apart from the on-cam bit, of an MX-5. It gives me that same feeling of wanting to rev it out. Now, speaking of that Alpine A110, we lamented when we drove it that it's not coming to North America. Gee, this is so much fun. And so was the Alpine. But a lot of the people in the comments said, nay, it does not have 3 pedals, and therefore it's rubbish. And fair, you are entitled to your opinion. Here's the good news. This is manual only. And like the Evora and the Emira that we've tested that came after this, it's a very similar gearbox in that it isn't perfect. It requires some effort. It's very mechanical. It doesn't like being rushed. But at the same time, if you're delicate with it, it's quite rewarding. And the good news is you haven't got to be as delicate with the throttle because it's so responsive. And there's not just throttle response in this car and engine response, but there's also this like feeling, because it's moving such little mass, of car response. The whole thing moves in one cohesive unit. It feels like the whole thing wants to move together. The car doesn't feel like it's laboring to move forward, or, on the other hand, brake. There's just a lack of mass. And where there is a lack of mass, there is a surplus of joy. And that is a theme, a consistent theme. Now, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna drive my little hand-built British sports car for a second. I wouldn't take any of these cars over this. I wouldn't take a Mustang. I wouldn't take a GT3. I might take a GT3. I wouldn't take an F8. I'd definitely take an F8. Huracan Evo Spider? Yeah, I'd take that for sure. GTR? No. AMG GTC? Yeah. Stingray? No. Cop? No. I would take this over half of those. And my wallet would thank me too. What a pure distillation. And I know it gets more pure. I know there are atoms and caterhams, but this is joy manifest. I wouldn't change the power. There's not much I would change about this. I've been driving this. I drove it through the city. I drove it on the highway. It actually tracks very straight on the highway. In the city, the suspension is punishing because I think it needs a refresh. And I was on the forums. A lot of people refresh the suspension on these. I mean, it's almost 20 years old now. It didn't need to have such an exciting engine for me to love this. It didn't need to have the 3 pedals only rule, because so much work that the Elise is doing isn't done by those. It's done by, and I can say it because I'm safe in here, my English safe zone, it's done by the chassis.
So why is the chassis so special? Why have we all been going on about why the Lotus Elise is so great for so many years? It's because when this came out, it was kind of revolutionary. Instead of using steel to build the chassis, they used extruded bonded aluminum. What that means is that they essentially pressed aluminum through molds to very efficiently make the parts to build the chassis. And then instead of using heavy rivets or welds to put it all together, they glued it. So it is incredibly stiff and incredibly light. Under 2,000 pounds. That's really light, in case you didn't know. And when a car is that light, you can do certain things that make the whole experience more enjoyable. Like the suspension doesn't have to be crazy stiff in order to control the body. In fact, Lotus has never really been that interested in super stiff suspension. They like you to feel the weight transfer. So when I dive this car into a corner like this, I feel the front load up and I can feel the rear become light. And it's all just communicated so perfectly. I get to enjoy every little bit of the fact that I'm driving a light mid-engine car. It's so good. And of course, the steering. There's a reason we always use Lotus as a benchmark for steering. Oh, this feels like a Lotus. Oh, the steering is almost as good as a Lotus. Oh, I wish the steering was more like a Lotus, because this is the best. This is as good as it gets. It's just a beautiful delicacy to it. The steering is completely unassisted. I mean, it's just straight rack and pinion. There's no power whatsoever. But since the car is so light, even at parking lot speeds, the steering never gets heavy. The only time it ever gets heavy is when you apply load into the tires in the corner. So that means you get to know just how much grip you have or don't have through your hands. Just little bits of feedback as you go over the bumps. If you hit a tiny patch of gravel, you feel it lighten for just a fraction of a second as the tires lose grip. You have so much confidence to push the car. Sometimes in a lot of modern sports cars, I just drive it around hoping I'm going to lose the rear or trying to lose the rear because I want to feel something. That's not what this car is about. In fact, it actually understeers at the limit. That's the way it's set up. But when you have this much communication from the whole car, even understeer can be exciting because you just know what's going on. Oh, I can feel it coming on. I can feel it coming. It feels like a go-kart. God damn it. I said I wasn't going to say that. Oh, big surprise. The car enthusiast likes driving a Lotus. Shocker of the year, I know. But it's just so good. It is so fun to drive. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Asterisk, this side of the world. I figured this out.
All right.
England.
What about it?
£17,000, similar mileage,
Well, they
similar
are
year.
cheap.
That's like 30,000 Canadian, so half the price.
Half the price.
And my mum loves me again.
Oh, you're gonna move to England?
Yeah, it's been a long 11 years here, okay?
Actually, you don't even need to fully move. I think that you could live here, and let's say you fly over there early spring. You rent an apartment in Bristol near Wales where the roads are really good.
Right.
For like a couple £1,000s a month. You buy a Lotus Elise, drive it for 6 months, sell it, fly home, all for less than the price of buying one in Canada.
Every year.
Every year.
That's half of a mother's love, though.
Built one whole Lotus.
True. Which is worth a lot more.
Yes. Anyway.
The reason it's worth that much is because we're starved. This is like, how
Yes.
much would a man who hasn't had water in 10 days pay for a glass of water? We don't have this. There's nothing
Yes.
like this.
There's nothing like this.
We don't have the Alpine A110.
It is-
What about the 4C?
The 4C is similar, but the 4C is heavier.
Yes.
It's also not a manual, right?
Yeah.
Careful, 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 careful. I think this is already broken. That's why that one's different. Yeah.
No, it's the Panda spec.
It's the Panda spec.
Panda spec.
Yeah.
That is different, isn't it?
Yeah, that looks like a replacement part that did not get painted body color. These are
pre-prod. It's pre-prod.
I think these are famous for breaking. No, the 4C, it feels very different to this. This feels so much more delicate than a 4C.
Right.
Right. A 4C, even though it also has unassisted steering, is really heavy, and the steering's kind of crap compared to this.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think nothing looks like this on the road whatsoever. Like, there's just literally nothing. It looks like a supercar.
It's got the buggy. It's got the Alpine A110 thing. The bug eyes. The
Yeah.
four.
Complete with condensation.
No. No. It's
You don't
just,
have to
that's
be-
British engineering.
You don't have to be ashamed of it. It's part of the Lotus experience. Broken mirrors, condensation, door panel that's falling off. That's all okay. We all go, "Aw, it's a Lotus though." So,
But it's usable. Everyone says that this is just a toy. It has a trunk. Have you got the key?
oh, it's in there somewhere.
there
It keeps beeping at us, and we can't figure out how to get the lights to turn off and the beeping to go away, even when the key's out and it's all locked and the lights are off. The lights are still on.
So you think this is all engine here? Which, by the way, things like the Cayman hide from you.
Yeah,
Not in Britain.
there is technically a trunk there.
There's the trunk. And then this is the soft top in here.
Yeah.
Which is, yes, admittedly, quite warm. Feel that.
Don't store any chocolates in the trunk.
That's actually hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is very hot. Yeah, this is a buzzy little engine right there. That's cool. Okay. I think that the generation after this, not the generation, the later version that we never got, with the single headlight,
Right.
like in England,
Yes.
I think it looks better.
I agree.
Do you?
And I am upset. And I looked this up because I didn't understand why North America stopped getting Elises in like 2011.
Yeah.
And it's because it didn't meet safety standards as they changed.
Right.
And Lotus deemed it unnecessary to put the extra money in to make it work for North America.
That's not fair.
So as a result, there's way more Elises all the way up till 2024 in the UK, which is probably explains why
Why they're cheaper
2007 is quite cheap.
Yeah.
But then I wonder if you can import them, but they'd be right-hand drive.
Well, you could find left-hand drive ones, right? They didn't just go to England,
Maybe.
right? So you could probably import one of these.
I love this spec.
With the gray?
That is Storm Titanium, actually.
Why do you know the color?
And because it's
How
pretty.
did you even find out the actual color name?
I found all the options you can do on this
Okay.
back in 2007.
Okay,
And there are
alright.
quite a few colors, and they're cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's laser blue
Yeah.
and others.
He didn't remember any of the other ones except Storm Titanium and Laser Blue.
There were some cool interior colors. There's like biscuit.
Really?
I might have made that up. I'm going to put the real version.
Is
It's
it like
something to do-
brown? What is
It's
it?
something to do with cookies or biscuits or something. But yeah, I like the wheels. I maybe go for like a silver wheel because black wheels hide it, but they work.
Yeah.
I love the footprint. It's tiny.
It is extremely tiny.
I like feeling small. It makes the universe feel bigger.
Okay.
I drove this in downtown Toronto
Yeah.
and a cyclist went past me and it was like,
He's like, oh, got to avoid you there. Sorry, buddy.
it's something, there's a catharsis to it. I don't know what it is because I do not feel that in big vehicles.
Yeah.
The other way around.
Should we do a little tour of the inside for people? Because it's not like any other car. And if you haven't seen the details of the inside of one of these, it is as bare bones, I think, as it gets in the car world.
With doors.
With doors, yeah. There we go.
Smooth.
Not bad, right?
I
Getting better.
haven't tried it with the roof on.
Yeah, I'm completely depending on this as a handle and all of this space to be able to easily get in here.
Which, considering that this is a handmade thing in a small town in England, that's horrifying that you're using that.
Well, I would hope that it would help me in a
Look
rollover.
at that. Oh,
Yeah, that's coming off a
that
little
is
bit
blocking
there.
the entire sun.
Yeah. Okay, so
Spartan.
this is as Spartan pretty much as it gets. Like, this is bare aluminum, bare aluminum, bare
That is
aluminum.
a shelf, thank you very much.
It is a bare aluminum shelf. Yeah.
I think, on first impressions, this interior is a joke. You get in.
Yeah.
Imagine you spent 62 grand.
Yeah.
You get in. First of all, you're at the front of the canoe.
It does
Right?
feel
It's
very
coming
canoe-ish.
this like
yeah.
Dorito thing coming in here.
Yeah.
That, like, driving this with this here is very annoying.
Yep.
You've got a rear view mirror the size of an egg.
Oh, you brought an actual egg. Okay.
Look at that.
That is roughly the same size as the egg. Yes. Don't. Okay.
I would love to tell you that the speakers are good, but they're blown.
Yeah.
So it's just. We got hard seats.
yes.
This all looks like a kit car.
But then you realize the beauty of it. For example, this lovely pedal box. Just pure aluminum pedals, small area, perfect spacing, tiny little pedal. That's all you need. Your feet are super close together, right? This little manual handbrake.
Where are the floor mats?
What floor mats? You don't need them. You got a little bit of rubber so you don't slip when you're trying to get in.
You can actually see the glue. That orange, the glue there.
That's a
behind the
little
screw.
bit of glue. Yeah, you can see some glue.
Is it good that it's glued?
Yes, that's a good thing, is it saves weight.
Right, but so does tape. Like why is
Yeah,
that?
but glue is like the better tape. So it's one level above tape, but
what
one
if I
level below
want-
welds.
What if I want welds and rivets and...
Well, then you have a heavy car. You have a Miata, and it's crap.
How unsafe is this? I see an airbag.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to get hit in it. I'll tell you that.
Visibility is poor.
Well, hold on. Visibility.
Sorry, rearward visibility.
Yes, visibility this way is actually quite nice.
Yes, lovely.
right?
Yeah, and you got the haunches coming over here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 100% baby supercar.
Yes.
We've got very simple gauge cluster
Yes.
that groups the first 3,000 RPM very close to each other.
You don't need them.
You don't need those.
You live up the top.
The only physical controls you have beside the radio stuff is
Three knobs.
3 knobs.
Well, there's a couple buttons kicking around here. There's a little like a traction control thingy down here. There's a 4-way flasher. What's that switch do? Hey, that locks the doors.
Central locking.
Didn't know that. I
Don't
didn't know
be careful with that, because my dad in the 80s had a Lotus XL, and he got stuck in it. It locked in on him, and he climbed out of the sunroof to get out on a hot day.
And a moment of madness, I bought this Lotus XL XE in April 1988 for just under £20,000. It was the biggest pile of you could possibly imagine, and going down Harrow one day, the bonnet flipped up at about 25 miles an hour.
Everyone has a story.
Well,
I asked
that's
everyone.
actually not that bad. Usually it's climbed to the sunroof and the car was on fire.
I asked Jason Camisa if there was a Lotus story.
Yeah.
And he said no.
Oh, okay.
But he did almost sever an artery while installing the digital dash's backup camera wiring. Genuinely got my arm stuck in the dash with blood pouring out and had to ask Siri to call my friend who's a nurse to advise me whether I needed an ambulance. But it was venous, and not arterial. I asked Todd from Everyday Driver.
Yeah.
And he said, everyone thinks Elises are going to be a pain. I've been on road trips, track days, commutes, snowstorms, 80,000 miles later, and all it did was melt a piece of luggage in the trunk.
Because they know, and we know, and of course Lotus does know, that we are going to forgive them for it, because it is a toy. In the end, it's just a toy.
Wow.
And
that
toys
would
can
trigger Buzz Lightyear right now. This is a nice shelf.
Yes.
This is a nice shelf.
Oh, poor Buzz.
Poor Buzz.
Poor Buzz. The seat practicality, and there's even this little, I've never seen that attachment yet.
Yeah, this is aftermarket.
There you go, look at that.
Oh, at least that is,
right. Yeah. It is a lot of money. Like, I would go so far as to say too much money.
But there is nothing else now.
No,
it's upsetting that it's got so expensive. It's just upsetting.
There's nothing else that gives you this level of driving engagement. There just isn't. There truly isn't.
With doors and airbags.
Yes, exactly, yeah. I don't know what to say. I've always loved these, and personally, now that I've driven this is my first time driving one that's not supercharged.
Right, or modded.
Or modded.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would, A, mod, maybe suspension, or B, supercharge. I like this just as it is. This is perfect.
Oh.
And that perfection, comes at a price. When you try to please everyone, oftentimes you end up pleasing no one. This is not a problem suffered by the Lotus Elise. Its single-minded mission means that it's not for everyone or every occasion, but for those looking for the purest sports car driving experience possible. Well, then the Elise joins the Canadian dispensaries as another legal way to experience a high. Thanks for watching.
And now I have a headache.
Yeah.
But it's a Lotus Elise. Lotus Elise, Lotus Elise, Bombasta Miata, Lotus Elise. Oh my god. Oh, I'm immediately getting lightheaded. Okay. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I was trying to...
Shit.
100%. Me.